a 14-year-old trying to make a name for himself in the gang world.
And the passenger asked the person in the driver if he can shoot him. And then the person in the driver said yes.
A young mother caught in the crossfire.
Ma'am, I'm gonna cut your seatbelt, okay? I'm Officer Leffer with the Denver Police Department, okay?
In a high-speed chase that ended in a life-altering interrogation.
I'm sorry,
This one reckless night shattered lives forever.
This is like a big deal. This isn't like, oh, you stole a car and didn't go to school. Like, someone lost their life, dude.
Yeah, somebody's dumb that you was in the car with.
It was late, just past 10:45 p.m. The streets of Denver were quiet, but not empty. A Honda sat at a red light on Colfax, right where it meets Interstate 25. Then a Range Rover rolled up behind it, and just as it was coming to a stop, it rear-ended the Honda. A minor tap, barely a crash. Then a dark-hooded figure stepped out of the Honda, gun in hand. No hesitation. He fired 15, maybe 20 shots, straight into the Range Rover. Then, as if making sure the job was done, he climbed back into the Honda, aimed out the window, and fired 2 more shots at the Range Rover before speeding off into the night. Jaden was on her way home that night, just another routine drive through Denver. She didn't think much of the red light at Colfax until the gunfire started.
Pop, 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 pop. And at first, it didn't register what was happening until the cars in the 2 lanes next to me started going.
Sharp pops cut through the air, one after another. Cars in the lanes next to her started rolling forward. That's when she knew something was happening.
And then I realized I said, oh, something's happening, and I ducked down, and several more happened.
More shots rang out. When she finally lifted her head, he caught a glimpse of the scene.
And I pulled next to the car. Barely got a glance. It looked as though the window was either rolled down or shot out, but I believe that the window was out. I didn't look at the windshield to see inside the vehicle.
She couldn't see inside, couldn't tell who had fired the shots.
And then the car that was in front of them sped off. I went behind them, but pretty far back, because they went pretty quickly, and got off on Federal.
Jaden didn't follow. She took her own turn, distancing herself from whatever had just unfolded. At that moment, she didn't know exactly what she had witnessed, but she knew it wasn't good.
Got off on Federal, and I didn't obviously see what occurred because the car was obstructing my view, so I didn't know at the time if the shots came from the car in front or inside the vehicle, but that's what I saw.
Jaden hadn't counted the shots in the moment, but she guessed there were 5 to 7 at first.
I'm gonna call it 5 to 7, perhaps.
Then a pause, just a second or two, before a few more rang out.
Great, and then you said you ducked down and heard several more pops. How many more do you think you heard?
Perhaps 3.
Okay.
Jaden was preoccupied. She was driving home from an appointment.
And you never saw anybody get in or out of any vehicles?
No.
Okay.
In my mind, thought it was fireworks or something.
Sure.
And just wasn't paying attention.
At first, it crossed her mind that maybe they were fireworks, but as the noise echoed through the street, she realized this was different. This was real. She ducked her body, reacting before her mind fully caught up. The sound was sharp, unmistakable. Gunfire. She felt exposed, vulnerable. She ducked lower, hoping she wouldn't feel the sudden, searing pain of a stray bullet.
I recognized the sound of gunshots, and I thought perhaps one was going to hit me.
Fear didn't hit her right away. It was more of a delayed reaction, creeping in after the moment had already passed. But the thought stuck with her. If she had been just a little closer, just a little slower, maybe things would have turned out differently. Jaden wasn't the only witness. Many more experienced the same terror. Alex Martinez had been on his way home from a soccer game when the gunfire shattered the night. At first, he wasn't paying much attention. His music was up, drowning out the usual city noise. But then, flashes of light. His stomach dropped. That wasn't street lights. That wasn't fireworks.
I did not physically see the weapon.
Okay.
I seen the lighting from when the shooter got, and you have like the light and the sound.
Okay.
So that's what I heard.
Unlike Jaden, Alex actually saw the shooter.
When he got out, he had to get his hoodie on, and he turned to face towards the morning, and all I see is the side of his forehead, so literally right here.
The figure turned just enough for Alex to catch a glimpse of his forehead. He wasn't tall, maybe 5'6" or 5'7". Then he lifted his arm, partially hidden by the roof of the car. Alex didn't need to see the weapon to know what was happening. The gunshots told him everything. 6 flashes, 6 sharp bursts of light, each one sending a wave of adrenaline through his body. The Honda was already speeding off, disappearing into the night. Alex didn't stick around to see where it was headed. He just kept driving, pulse hammering, knowing he had seen something he wasn't supposed to. Meanwhile, first responders rushed to the scene. Officers and paramedics moved fast, closing in on the Range Rover where a woman sat slumped over, bleeding.
Ma'am, I'm gonna carry your seatbelt, okay? I'm Officer Leffer with the Denver Police Department, okay?
An officer pressed down on her wounds, trying to slow the bleeding. There were multiple shots, some to her face. It was bad.
I'm just gonna keep some pressure on him, okay? Hey, she took quite a few. That was four kind of grass for the three. She's the only victim. She's the only victim.
They worked quickly, checking for an ID, searching her purse.
See if I can find an ID in her purse. There, right? I don't know how you want to do this. You want to put the seat back as soon as you get through?
One of them called out, trying to get a response. Nothing.
What's your name? Can you tell me your name?
I'll get over with you.
She was the only one in the car. No passengers, no witnesses inside. Just her, barely hanging on. They tried adjusting the seat to reach her better, fumbling with the controls. Every second counted.
Hey, Scott, hold that seat. Is there anything behind the seat? No.
Oh, well, what's it? Hang on, I'll tell you.
But the truth was already sinking in. This wasn't just another traffic stop gone wrong. This was a hit, and whoever pulled the trigger was long gone. An officer stepped around to the back of the SUV. Glass crunched under his boots. The rear window was blown out. The front of the car was no different. Bullet holes tore through the glass. He counted them, one by one.
I counted 8 shots. Yeah, there's one right above the left windshield wiper. So, that's 2 out of... Look right there.
Oh, this is bleeding. It's probably bruised.
That's the same one as the one on the back.
Okay, that's probably...
8 shots, just in the windshield alone. Another officer searched the purse again. Nothing. No ID. No wallet. Just an empty bag. Whoever she was, they had no name yet. Another officer called out for gloves.
Hey, you got gloves? I tried gloves.
I got one.
There's one here, pick it up, and there's one over here, pick it up.
Are you okay?
I pulled it down here.
Evidence needed collecting. Shell casings, bullet fragments, every piece mattered now. Finally, an officer found something in the car with her name on it.
Might be a Pamela. Yeah, I'm trying to find out, dude. Is there more than anybody else? No, it's just one person. Could you hold that open while I look through it, please?
Her full name was Pamela Cabrioles. She was just 32 years old. Pamela was heading home after dinner with a friend that night. Pamela worked as a real estate agent. She had no affiliations to any gangs, no criminal record. She was a hardworking mom to her 6-year-old son, Leo. Pamela Cabrioles fought for days in the hospital, but the damage was too much. She didn't make it. Just like that, a mother was gone, and now there was a child left behind, waiting for someone who would never come home.
Hours later, an officer recognizes the assailant's car from a previous incident involving shots being fired into a McDonald's. The teens allegedly led police on a short chase before crashing and running into a neighborhood where two of the suspects can be seen running down a sidewalk.
The next day, a Denver police officer spotted a Honda linked to a different shooting, a gang-related incident at a McDonald's where multiple shots had been fired. At the time, the officer didn't realize this was the same vehicle connected to Pamela's murder, but the people inside needed to be questioned. When police tried to stop the car, the suspects took off. A short chase followed, ending when the vehicle crashed. 3 teens bailed out, sprinting through a quiet neighborhood,
before making a quick about-face and running in the other direction.
Surveillance cameras caught 2 of them running down a sidewalk before suddenly turning back the other way. They hid in a nearby shed, but it didn't take long before the police closed in.
And for police to respond and arrest all 3 suspects.
Officers swarmed the area, cutting off escape routes. Within minutes, all 3 suspects were in custody. Authorities found spent shell casings in the car and also in the shed where they were hiding. The car matched the description of the shooting at Califax and also the same caliber shell casings. Are these 3 teens involved in Pamela's murder? Authorities need to find out. The first suspect was Remy Cordova. Since he was only 14, he couldn't be interviewed alone, so his mom sat beside him in the interrogation room.
I'm going to advise you of your rights, and then I'm going to leave the room, and you need to talk about whether or not you want to talk about this investigation or not. Okay?
Did she just stop him from admission of guilt, or is she hardly able to believe what her son had gotten himself into? No one knows, but one thing was certain. The gang life had real consequences, and now Remy was a suspect in a murder case. Inside the police station, Remy Cordova sat with his mother, away from prying eyes. His mother warned him. The cops were asking if he went by something else. Is he Little Ro? She was a mother trying to protect him. She cut him off before he could admit. When the officers returned, the mood in the room changed.
I'm telling you, so. Nobody. Totally different.
Where you guys still talking? I'm going to turn the radio back on, okay?
The camera clicked back on, and it became obvious the mother knew that Remy was somehow involved. That was it. No explanations, no denials. Just a quick signature on the refusal form, and the interview was over. The officers shut off the video. Remy stayed silent, but that didn't mean investigators were in the dark. They already knew who he was, a name in their system, a face linked to gang activity, a juvenile record that spoke for itself. But the next suspect, he wasn't as quiet. 18-year-old Nishan Johnson, the driver of the Honda, had a lot more to say. The questions started right away. Where had he been? Who was he with? What happened that night?
So, Nishan, I just want to figure out what's going on, what happened. If you can just kind of take me through the events tonight, where you were, what was going on, who you were with. And don't worry about me, right? You don't need to catch up. Just go and I'll catch up with you. I'm just taking down some things. Don't worry about any of that, okay? That's just for me. So if you want to just start, we're backward or forward, however you want to do that. I mentioned westbound Colfax 525. Do you know what I'm talking about with that?
No.
Okay.
When the officer mentioned Colfax and I-25, Johnson hesitated. He said he didn't know what that was about. The officer tried again, asked him to just walk through his night.
Let's talk how just your night went, where you were. Let's start with that.
I was sleeping. You know, I was sleeping. And it was like Jewel. It was like behind. This fair on Jewel behind the McDonald's. I was there, I did with them. So with them. And then I left. Right out. 12. I was 11. No, I was 11. Because everything I lived out behind this. Around 12. So they came to 12.
Johnson stuck to his story at first, saying he had nothing to do with the shooting, but the timeline started to get messy after he left Aunt's place.
When you mentioned 12, are we talking 12 noon during the day or 12 midnight at night?
Like 29. Okay, I was there, I was at my baby mom's. So now I left. And I went to my cousins. They didn't. Today, my father came pick me up.
That's when the police got behind them. He said his friend had picked him up around that time. He said he started texting his friend around 9:55, telling him to be ready, and by 11, they had to come pick him up. At first, he made it sound like it was just one person, but then he slipped, referring to they. The detective caught it immediately.
Okay, and I ask it because you say they. When you say they, it leads me, and I'm not trying to trick you, I'm saying they leads me to believe there's more than one person. If you're not saying he came to get you, you're saying they came to get me, so who's with him when he
Yeah, it
comes?
was my man in the car.
Okay.
But I don't even know him, so I don't deal with him. I wasn't talking to him. So
Where was he sitting in the
he was
car?
in the driver's seat.
Okay. Is he
When I came in, by the time I came in, he was in the driver's seat.
is he black, whatever, Hispanic?
Yeah, hold on. To be honest, he lived it white to me, you feel me, but I wasn't really paying attention.
Okay. Is he kind of slim like yourself or kind of husky or fellow like me? Okay.
I don't know.
You catch his name?
No.
The detective kept digging, asking where the guy was sitting, what he looked like, if there were any weapons in the car. Johnson brushed it off, said he wasn't focused on that, but the detective wasn't buying it. The more Johnson talked, the more the details started changing, and it was only a matter of time before the whole thing started to unravel. Johnson tried to explain why he fled, saying the icy roads made it hard to stop. The detective wasn't convinced. He asked again why Johnson didn't just pull over.
Well, tell me more about why you didn't stop.
I don't have no driver's license. I don't know. That's the only thing. If I had a driver's license, I would have pulled over. Because I don't have no driver's license, so
Johnson admitted he didn't have a driver's license, and without it, he figured running was his best option. That led to more questions.
When you see the police on the side of you, if you're driving, you make the turn, hit the curb, they light you up, you say, not stop. When you notice the police, who notices them first? You or the other two guys in the car?
to be honest with you, all I did, because it was right next to us.
Tell me more about the conversation going on in the car about the 5-0 being next to you.
And we were just like, police right next to us. I was like,
Okay.
He just wanted to get home. Then the detective shifted focus. What about the others in the car? He kept saying he was just trying to go home, but the detective wasn't letting up. He knew there was more to the story, and Johnson's version wasn't adding up.
Did Will or the guy in the car talk about being on or being they have heater in the car or being concerned about the police bumping you guys up with anything in the car?
see, they didn't tell me trying to worry about it. It was like big bro, cool. It was like, I guess they were trying to hide it. Because I didn't need that. I said, y'all like doing something stupid, come to my house. We can eat food, sleep, do whatever y'all want. Y'all can come to my house. Y'all don't have to do no damn. Because they like, this guy through it, telling doing that. We're going to foster homes, so I don't want to be done. And then I got 2 kids. I got 2 little girls, so maybe anybody younger than me, I take them on them right away and I try to show them anything better.
Okay.
And they know if they tell me anything, they're still going to go off on them. So that's probably the reason why they didn't tell me that they did it.
Okay.
Before they came out of the room, and then I would leave me right in the car. Like, what do you got at the moment?
Okay.
Like, come on, because I don't. I'm mad they put me in the predicament like this anyway. Like, they don't put me in no predicament like that. But,
Nishan insists that he had no idea what the others were up to. He claims they didn't mention anything about weapons or being worried about the police. But as much as he tries to separate himself from whatever happened, the detective isn't buying it. He admitted he jumped out of the car and hid in a shed. He claimed he froze, waiting until officers found him. But the detective can tell there's more to the story. Nishan just isn't ready to say it yet. Nishan said the other 2 bailed the second they could. He had no choice but to scramble out too. He barely knew Denver. His real home is in Georgia. The detective listened, but doesn't let him steer the conversation too far.
So tell me more about getting into the shed.
I was just in the city and I went to sleep. After I went to sleep, I hear people. And that's when I was in the city. That's when the dog came in.
Okay.
The dog came in. He's like, I'm surprised the dog didn't attack me. I ain't gonna lie, I'm so blessed with it. The dog didn't exactly attack me. He smelled me, walked away, smelled me again, walked away. It didn't have to grab it.
He thought maybe, just maybe, he'd get lucky. But when the SWAT team moved in, the dog went into full takedown mode.
When like SWAT team came in, that's when he started shredding for real. Like when the dude said, or son come in, he was on it. And that's when he checked my back and my foot. I was like,
Nishan didn't fight it. He didn't want to get bitten. He gave up as soon as they told him to. The detective pushes again. Was anyone else in the shed?
Okay. At any time when you're in the shed, did you meet up with little road or the other white man?
They never came back.
So was you in the shed all by yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else was with you?
No.
And was it in front of you or back you or?
I was in like the back, maybe. Like that was weird. Trying to get out of this. I didn't know how
shed it was.
No.
You know whose house it was.
No.
Nishan insisted he was alone the whole time, but the detective knew he was lying, and Nishan's version of events is only getting shakier. The detective doesn't let up. He circles back, asking Nishan to walk through every moment again. Who said what, who did what, and exactly how it all went down.
What is the conversation in the car?
There was no conversation in the car. But it didn't go.
I'm sorry?
I said, there wasn't no conversation in the car, but it go.
But go?
Yeah, that's
Why was that?
I don't know.
Okay. Earlier you told me because you didn't have a license.
Yeah, I don't know license, but that's what they was telling me. You said it was the conversation.
Okay.
Maybe you said it was a conversation that we had a lot of police was behind us.
And who was telling you to go?
Little brother, he was like, brother, go. You said every, I mean, I don't have no license. We found out and it's full of.
The little bro said he was hot.
No,
He said he
maybe go.
Okay.
You know how, he's university, run for the police, for doing anything for the police. Now, he's so.
So you listened to him. So you listened to him and you went it.
That's how I love it.
Okay.
Nishan blamed Remy Cordova for everything. Remy panicked, yelling at him to go. He didn't want to run, but he had no license, and Remy kept pushing, so he hit the gas. The detective then asked him to estimate how long the chase lasted.
From the point you saw the police to the point that you it gets slippery and you end up crashing, how much time passed?
I don't know.
How much would you say? A minute, 5 minutes, 30 seconds?
I say a minute.
Okay. And then when you crash, what do you do?
Get out of the car right around.
Okay. Then
Go to the
you
city.
huh?
And go to the city.
Okay.
Went to the city.
Again, the detective presses him. Who ran with him? Did anyone follow? Nishan sticks to his story.
Right. Anybody go with you to the shed?
No.
Did anybody follow you?
No.
How certain?
Myself.
Okay, you're there by yourself.
Yeah, so I was there on myself all over. Like 3 hours. I took a nap and all.
But the detective isn't just interested in where Nishan hid it. He's fishing for something else. Then the detective zeroes in on a very key moment, that 1-minute window when everything happened fast. The police lights, the chase, the crash, the escape.
In that 1 minute when you see the police, and then you go, you crash, you get out, you get up, and you go to the shed, you're sitting by yourself, right?
Yes.
Anybody give you anything before you got out of the car?
No.
Anybody ask you to hold anything?
Nishan had been insisting he was alone in the shed. He's been denying that anyone gave him anything. But now, the detective drops a bombshell.
You know why I'm asking all these questions? Because the shed you were found in, those shell casings match at our murder scene. Can you explain that to me? And you said nobody's in the shed with you. Okay? You're in there by yourself. But the same caliber shell casing that's in the shed where you're at is the same caliber at our murder scene. Can you explain that to me if nobody handed you anything?
Nobody handed me nothing.
Okay, so how did that end up in the shed with you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I ain't gonna cut it.
I don't know.
Okay?
The detectives keep pressing. This is his chance to be honest. Either he was at the murder scene, or someone handed him something that tied him to it. But the story he's been telling, it doesn't add up.
Your chance to be honest, okay? And I'm not saying you're not, so please don't be offended by that. Okay, but I don't know is not going to cut it. As I told you before when we first started, it's a homicide investigation. I told you you're not free to leave. Okay? You remember that? Okay. If you were there for something or somebody asked you to hold on to something, I need to know. Okay? And not just for myself, but for yourself. You got a kid, right? You want to see those kids grow up?
Yes.
Do you want to be able to hold them and not be behind glass when we see them? Or do you want them to come and visit you during yard time? Again, I'm not threatening you, I'm not upset with you, but I'm telling you, this is the road we're going down. You're digging yourself a hole here, so if you have something, you know something, Misha, now's the time to tell me. Okay, if you tell me you were by yourself, when you ran, nobody else was in that shed. I asked you several times that question, you're adamant nobody was. Okay? So it's one of two things. Either you were there at that murder scene, or somebody giving you something to hold on to. So now's your chance to help yourself. Don't dig yourself a hole. You got one foot in this hole right now, Yishan. Okay?
Yishan stares at the detective blankly. The weight of the moment is settling in. The detective isn't backing off. And now, Yishan has to decide, stick to his story or start talking.
What would you like to do? You want to tell me who gave you something, or if you were there, come clean and tell me.
And he gave me that, and I wasn't there.
Okay?
Likewise, it's not that way.
Okay?
Nishan hesitates, then suddenly remembers something. Or at least, that's how he presents it. There was someone else in the shed. The white boy.
But I didn't know he had it. No, he left the shed.
I'm sorry, you did what?
He went in the shed with me. He came in the shed with me. Me and him. But then that was left. That's why I was throwing in there, because he was like, he put up, and all it wasn't going nowhere.
Okay.
So I stayed in there.
Right.
He came in there with me. He chopped all the shadows. And then after that, I was like, oh, he's throwing 3 grand in the left.
The detective doesn't react, but he knows what's happening. This is what people do when they start feeling cornered. The story that was solid a few minutes ago begins to crack. Little details changing, rearranging. Nishan had been alone. Now, suddenly, he wasn't?
He ain't telling me nothing on everything. He was, when we got in here, I heard, I was like hearing pennies. Like I thought it was pennies at first, because I didn't know what it was in. It's in it. And I was like, bro, stop. I was like, bro, stop before the police come in here or something right here. I was like, all right, bro. And I didn't realize who was on there until the police last night. You feel me? But I thought it was something that was like, you didn't play with pennies or something.
Okay.
But I was like, bro, stop. Like, bro, stop playing with that, bro. I was like, bro, my fault, bro. And then after that, when the police came in, they shit at us. So, I think he dropped his shit at us and knew the police when they come in and they just leave. Because he told me he was leaving, because I swear to God, I took a nap. I was taking a nap and then I heard like the dog. I woke up and I stood up. And the dog smelled me, passed me by. That's what really tripped me out, when the dog just smelled me. He just left. I was like, what?
White Boy didn't just hide in the shed with him. He brought something with him. He thought White Boy was messing around, playing with pennies.